Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Friday. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We are streaming live on YouTube. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom. It's Friday. I got some energy. We got my guy, Pat, joining the show. It's Fan Friday Mailbag time, baby. We opened up the mailbag today. Y'all had some fun questions, man. Per usual, fun questions, good questions. Me and Pat are going to attack them. That's right. No C joins us. Going to go inside the mind of our first round pick with No C, detail a little bit of this draft, and answer a few questions from y'all. Plus, in that roundup, not a whole lot going on there. Just some nuggets out of the home run derby the Cowboys had down there at Reliant Stadium. And there was a couple nuggets, one mostly revolving around QB1, but another one that I wanted to briefly touch on in the roundup regarding our wide receivers. So make sure y'all stick around for that one. Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
How we doing on this Friday, man? I can't believe it. You know, this is the first full week back, you know, in a good bit, and it went by just like that. Excited for week 2 again because we'll be discussing most of the NFL draft, most of our picks, honestly, and maybe some more guests as well, getting back into the swing of things here. But we here, baby. It's Friday. It's a good week. Cowboys news. I love that. The slow period, different story. Totally different story. With that said, how we doing? Let's get into this roundup. We got Pat at the top of the hour. Want to talk to y'all a little bit about the roundup. Look, QB1 stuff. It's pretty redundant, but man, they spoke. There are some things to discuss there, so let's get into it.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you.
Let me talk to you, Cowboys Nation. Before we get into QB1, one of the cool things about the annual home run derby that they do is they get a chance to talk, they as in the media, to the players. And a lot of the time, some of these players you don't hear from until camp, right? Or mini camp or something like that. But that's not the case with the home run derby, those who participate. And like I said, before we get into QB1, I kind of want to talk about Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert. I feel like there were some underrated sound bites that came out of those two guys talking to the media. And it'll sound similar to last year in regards to Cooks saying and Tolbert saying that Brandon Cooks continues to take Tolbert under his wing and mentor him to the point where he had Tolbert come out to Oregon for an entire week to work on his game, the nuances, and continue to teach him things so that he can take over. And I absolutely love that, man. I truly believe, we talked about this the other day, that Jalen Tolbert will take another step in the right direction. The question is, will it be a step or will it be a leap? Those are two different things. If it's a step, that's good for Jalen Tolbert. It may not move the needle a whole lot for the Cowboys, but if it's a leap, oh, it moves the needle a whole lot for this Cowboys offense. So I know he doesn't have a whole lot of fanfare, but I thought he put the work in last year. He's continuing to put the work in. He obviously has the talent. Now he's going to have the opportunity. And it's about taking advantage of said opportunity. And I do believe that Tolbert will do so. Let's keep an eye on that throughout this offseason. But the real nuggets or the real conversation down there, everybody wanted to, speak with Dak Prescott. They asked about his contract status, of course. And also about what Jerry said at the pre and post draft presser. And this is what Dak said, quote, "It's still conversations. I'm aware of everything that Jerry said, and everything he said is dead on. Communication has been back and forth. At the end of the day, I've talked about how this is where I want to be, but my focus is on helping my team. It's as simple as that." Now, when they say communication, it's not Dak talking to Jerry. Trust me, Jerry would love that. He would love to eliminate the agents. It's the agent talking to Steven likely with Jerry there and trying to iron this thing out. I think it'll be a fight between those two, Dak's agent and Jerry Jones and Steven Jones. But I've been telling you guys this for a while now, and until my feelings change on the situation, then I will report back to you with telling you, hey, my feelings have changed. I believe this gets done. If it doesn't, obviously by the end of camp, then it won't get done this season. So then that's when I'll probably come back and be like, well, I don't think this thing is getting done in 2024. But until that gets here, I do think they will get extended. I think they'll fight, though. This will be a bit of a fight. When I say they, I don't mean Dak and Jerry. I mean his agent and Steven and Jerry. It'll be a fight. They don't want to get railroaded like they did last time in negotiations. And I imagine Dak's agent's like, nah, we like that. Short-term deal, no trade clause. Can't tag me. Love it. Somehow, some way, Jerry settled for that, which he usually doesn't lose that bad. But they do usually lose in these type of negotiations. And I don't expect anything to change. Yep. Don't expect it. Playing with my money is like playing with my emotions, player. Shouts out to you, Swain. Shouts out to you. Yeah, Slim. Thank God it is Friday. And Toxic, you've been saying this for a good bit. Let's kind of talk about it for a little bit here as we wait for our guy, Patrick Nosey Walker, to come in and talk about our draft class here. Pat said, why would I want to stay in Dallas? That is kind of fair. If we take a step back and look at both sides. And I try to do that a lot. I was actually talking to Foots about that. Like, I often try to view things on both sides and then discuss that with y'all. If I'm Dak and they come to me talking about take less this, take less that, I don't think that's going to happen in regards to less. Although just extending him in general, you get more money, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to say, okay, well, do something with it. Do something with it. And so he could easily say, well, every time, or y'all asked me to do this, or every time when you had the opportunity to use money when I wasn't making a lot, or the cap hit wasn't a lot, or we restructured the deal, right? Or not even restructure, we just hit the trigger. What did you really do with the bread, In regards to bringing in outside guys in free agency or via trade. Not a whole lot. So you can do that. You can say, well, is there the whole conspiracy thing of every time there's a negotiation that pops up, something pops up in the media? By the way, the whole, I don't really cover the TMZ stuff, but the whole Dak Prescott, I don't even call it a criminal case because it never was a case, but we know the lady came out, said he did some sexual assault things. The police investigated, nothing was there, and there will be no charges. And that's not really making huge news like it did before. But I don't think, there's people that prey on this man's downfall to that extent. So when the initial allegations popped up, whoo-wee, big news, all the clicks, that type of stuff. I tread water. I tread lightly. I'm sorry. I don't dive into that. I let that kind of play out and we'll discuss. It played out. There you have it. But don't let that deter you. There will be people out there that'll still prey on this man's downfall. One man's downfall, y'all better not be praying on, because I swear, folk, man. Patrick No C Walker, who is qualified, ladies and gentlemen. Scientific method. Let's go. Pat, I hit him with a stunner, dog.
I'm dropping science.
Downfall though, because we praying to two different entities, and mine's gonna win. Mine keep winning, so they praying to the wrong one, obviously.
I found out last night a little bit about Pat's back. Y'all, listen, I'm just gonna say, don't get this blue twisted that he wearing. That's all I'm saying right now. Just don't get it.
Man, chill out. Previous lives, bro. Previous lives. Let us, let old things must die. And I'm trying to make sure they die with people, just leave me be, man. Let me be a father and a family man. Let me be that.
Good morning, man. I'm in a great mood. We had a fantastic meeting last night in regards to some other things. Can't wait to go into detail about that. But we're talking Cowboys today, man. We're talking Cowboys today. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, and I want to give you and Nicole a lot of credit, and Nick as well, is the ability for you guys to humanize these players. I often say that to you, but I have to keep doing it because even myself, I have to guard myself from, focusing solely on what they do on the field and realize, hey, these are humans. And you and Nicole had the opportunity to welcome Tyler Guyton to the Cowboys quite literally off the plane, and you were able to sit down with him and his family and go in depth on who the player is and what drives him. Can you kind of take us behind the helmet of our first-round pick, Tyler Guyton?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'm looking in the chat as well. Sully, what's up, man? Chill out, Bob. Chill out. We're not talking about that. Tyler Guyton, fantastic young man. And this is not the being a prisoner of the moment type situation where it's like, okay, the Cowboys make a pick and you try to sell yourself on, this being the right guy. I mean, there are obviously times in this particular draft where I wish they went this direction, but they didn't go this direction. Obviously, I wanted them to get a running back at some point in the draft. They did. So there are some demerits here for the Cowboys. They didn't use next year's draft capital to come back into the fourth round. Huge demerit there. But when you start looking at some of these picks, Cooper Beebe being another one of them, Marshawn Neely, he's a sleeper. Pay attention to him, guys. But Tyler Guyton, man, this kid is just, there's something about him. And this is just me having spoken with him behind the scenes in addition to looking at his film. So if you look at his film, obviously he'll be transitioning from right tackle where he played with the Sooners over to left tackle. And in talking with him, he wants to play left tackle. He said he actually would have preferred if Oklahoma had him at left tackle. But if you think about it, he was protecting the blind side on the right side of a left-handed quarterback. So he was still doing blind side work if you think about it in that capacity. But just as a human being, man, to be able to walk with him step by step from the tarmac, have the conversations with him on the bus ride over to the facility, see his emotions. He broke into tears on one occasion when I asked him about playing on the offensive line with Zach Martin when we got to the building and we were walking through. And this is a guy, keep in mind, it's so much bigger than football for him because he grew up a Cowboys fan. And a lot of people say that, but you don't always feel that emanating from their person. And that is exactly what you feel from him. His support system is fantastic. His dad, very emotional as well. His brothers were there. His mom was there. His, a former teammate from TCU, a lifelong friend of his was there. I mean, his support system is fantastic. All of these individuals also diehard Cowboys fans. You saw his father in tears. You saw his father putting on the Cowboys helmet, putting on Guyton's jersey. You saw him lay on the star at the practice facility. So this is what's pushing Tyler Guyton. You saw Guyton literally lose his breath when he realized that his locker was next to Zach Martin. This kid wants to come in and not simply be great. He would want to be great for any NFL team, but he has the added impetus of wanting to do it for the Dallas Cowboys. And he has the family and support system that wants him to be not just an NFL great, but a Cowboys great. So all of this plays into, his ability, his skill set, his stature. This is a huge human being. His wingspan is just magnificent. His ability to play laterally get in the way of guys and steer guys where he wants them to go. Now, does that mean that he is, Tyron Smith right off the bat? No. Let's qualify this. Okay, so for all of the things that I'm saying that are positive about the young man, let's make sure that we're qualifying this and saying he is not Tyron Smith right off the bat. He is going to have to go through a crash course this summer with, rookie minicamp beginning next week. And then obviously mandatory minicamp in June, training camp, preseason. He's going to have to go through the crash course to be ready to be the day one starter come week one. That's a fact. But as far as his ceiling is concerned, still, his ceiling is extremely high. His drive to succeed is extremely high. And when you combine those two things with the support system he has and the coaching staff he's coming in with, I see good things in year one with the potential of great things not long thereafter.
He kind of reminds me of, well, not he, but his situation when Tyler Smith came in. I think there was a lot of question marks around Cowboys Nation. But then once you heard him speak, right, once he got to the press conference, once you guys kind of gave us some nuggets on Tyler Smith, a lot of people were like, oh, the player behind the helmet actually gives me some excitement about what he could be for the future. Because sometimes you get, no offense, but you get players who don't really love the game. You get players who just love what the game can do for them, and they don't have that same drive. And Tyler, you felt it and you heard it. And both Tylers, right, Guyton and Smith, you felt it and you heard it. And even if you have reservations about Guyton long term, I think that's something that you can kind of say, okay, look, if this kid wants to if he's going to put in that work, then I know he'll get better. How much better? That's the question to remain to be seen. But I know he'll get better because he's willing to put that work in.
100%. He's going to. It's more than simply putting the work in for him. This is a guy that I can already tell off rip that he's going to be in every meeting on the front row. He's going to be picking the brain of every possible offensive lineman and offensive line coach and assistant coach, and just whoever will give him a minute of their time, he's going to be picking their brain. And you mentioned his mentality. I see where McCarthy is going here, and I see where Will McClay is going here. Look at the mentality in which Tyler Smith plays with. You now have in both Cooper Beebe and Tyler Guyton dogs, guys who want to, as Cooper says, dirt guys. They want to beat just pulverize whoever they line up against. It's more than simply just blocking a guy, keeping the guy off of your quarterback. Because if you look at Tyler Guyton specifically, and Cooper Beebe is no different, but let's talk about the tackle position. Obviously, one half of that equation is pass protection. That's where Tyler Guyton needs to be more consistent. He showed flash and being able to protect the blind side, and that gives me enough confidence to say, okay, he can get that part down pat, hopefully by the time week one rolls around. But there you go. But when it comes to run offense and blocking for the run, he thrives. He's looking for the contact. He's seeking out guys to put on their back. And that next to a guy like Tyler Smith, who has the same mentality. He came in last year, 2 seasons ago. And what was said about Tyler Smith, right? They said, oh, well, he's coming from a small program in Tulsa, and who's this guy? And it's not going to work. 2 years in, he's an all-pro, okay? First year, he was a breakout guy if you consider the fact that he was asked to move from left guard to left tackle with no tackle snaps in training camp at all, and then helped save the day at left tackle. And then they put him back at left guard in year 2, and he was like, hey, let me just win an all-pro, no big deal, okay? Combine that with the Cowboys' hit rate in the first round offensive lineman, it is literally 100%. Statistically speaking, law of averages, sooner or later, it's not going to be 100%. Yeah. But until it's not, it is, okay? So there's grace that's provided there as well, as far as I trust that McClay knows what he's doing, because in the Will McClay era, he's not missed yet on a first-round offensive lineman, and Guyton has the tools. Some areas he needs to improve upon, but when it comes to his demeanor, work ethic, run blocking, support system, wanting to be great for an organization that he grew up just dreaming about playing for, all no pun intended, but the stars are aligned for this kid.
Let's stick right there with the NFL draft there. What picks do you think, it could be one or it can be a bunch, do you think sent a message to the fans and to that locker room, and what is the message?
2 things. One, I think the message is being sent that the Cowboys they're not kidding around when it comes to their offensive line anymore. They're not interested, particularly Mike McCarthy. He's not interested in the carousel of personnel, due to injury. He's not interested in lack of availability issues. You saw them not willing to pay Tyron Smith because of availability issues, even though he was coming off of a Pro Bowl caliber year. Mike McCarthy wants to rebuild and revamp this offensive line, and he's done that. He not only doubled down, he tripled down. Don't forget Nathan Thomas in the 7th round. He's got some ability as well. So I think the Cowboys are finally getting back to the era of, I equate it to Tyler Smith being the Tyron Smith pick, right? Because what happened after the Tyron Smith pick? You went out and you got Travis Frederick, you got Zach Martin. Well, after Tyler Smith, you went out and you got Tyler Guyton, you got Cooper Beebe, and we'll see if they go another first round in the next couple of seasons. But this is similar in that era in which the Cowboys are looking to build from the trenches and hopefully win games that way. And that's how you win games in the NFL. So the offensive line is back for the Cowboys. I'm willing to go out here and say that, because even with the opportunities that Tyler Guyton has to improve, when you look at a guy like Cooper Beebe and you slot him in between Tyler Smith and Zach Martin, who wants to line up against that interior?
Hey,
who wants to?
Hey, Pat, I'm excited to see Nate Thomas slide inside the guard too. I know it may be a 2025 pick, but bro, if BB works out at center and Zach Martin retires, bruh, BB, Thomas, and Smith on the inside. I love Zach Martin, but these dudes are road graders, and they'll move guys off the rock.
Absolutely. And also when you talk about Tyler Guyton, for example, speaking to this same topic, I asked him, I said, are you ready to go? And this was kind of piggybacking off of me asking him about lining up against Micah Parsons, and he was saying how excited he is. He said, quote unquote, iron sharpens iron. He's looking forward to it. And then I kind of dovetail off of that, and I said, hey, these defensive fronts in the NFC East are arguably the best in the entire league. Are you ready for what, the challenges that they present? And he looked at me and didn't even crack a smile. He was like, they have to see us. We don't have to see them. They have to see us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your first-round pick. This is the demeanor of your first-round pick. Now, circling back to your question, the second thing that sent a message to Cowboys fans was not picking a running back. I think that sent a massive message. There's an inherent irony in this for me still, because you know that during the peak Ezekiel Elliott days, during the holdout stage and everything, there was such a faction of fans that said running backs don't matter. You don't overpay running backs. What the hell are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Now you fast forward and you get Ezekiel Elliott back on what is essentially a veteran minimum deal with, $750,000 in incentives, but base is basically $1.25 million in a sort of 1-year deal. And everybody's up in arms because, and I agree that I wanted them to draft a running back in addition to signing Zeke. They didn't. I don't agree with that. However, I agree with signing Zeke back regardless of what they were going to do in the draft or not. So when you get him back on a very team-friendly deal and he's going to stabilize the room and give you that short yardage situation, give you that goal line situation, obviously still has some juice left. He's also now instantly your best pass protector in the running back room. Suddenly those same people that said, well, you don't want to overpay running back, what the hell are you doing? Now they're saying, why the hell are you paying him $1.25 million when Zach Moss got $4 million? What are we doing?
Choose pennies, man.
Right. Right. Choose a struggle. You got to choose a struggle, right? You can't move your struggle posts, right? You got to choose a struggle. So I feel like that sent the message that the Cowboys are I'm not going to say devaluing, but they don't look at the running back position now the same way they did then when they used a 4th overall pick on Zeke and then made him the highest paid running back in NFL history. Now they're saying, well, we need linebackers as well. So you go in, you get Marist out of Notre Dame, Leofau, and at that point, you know that you don't have a 4th round pick. And you know that there's probably going to be a run in the 4th round of running backs, and then that's exactly what happened. So they went with the linebacker instead. They didn't want to risk losing him. They went with Cooper Beebe instead, doubling down on the offensive line. They're basically telling you that when it comes to Guyton, Beebe, and then down the road maybe Thomas, that focus less on who's running the ball and focus more on who's in front of who's running the ball.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further with the running back situation. Will McClay came out. Steven said it too, but when McClay says it, it holds weight to me. He talked about the whole running back by committee thing. is something that I've been, preaching here on the show the last few years of Zeke's career, because he was always a banged up guy towards the end of the season, and you needed to kind of make sure he got carried into the postseason healthy. And 2020, was it 1 and 2 or 2020? Yeah, 2021 and 2022, Zeke was banged up at the end of the year, and they refused to let guys like Malik Davis kind of play, more extensively to let him be healed. And McClay comes out and says, hey, we're done with the one guy thing. We're going to be a committee thing. And if that's the case, I do think Zeke serves a purpose, as long as, I call it politics here, as long as politics stays out the way and they truly do potentially maybe add another player in that room and they use 3 guys. It doesn't have to be 3 guys get 12 carries apiece, but use 3 guys so that this 17-game season plus postseason, you're going into the postseason with some healthy guys back there.
Yeah, you are. And I want everybody to keep in mind that this doesn't mean that the Cowboys are done adding to the running back room. I mean, they want to throw as much competition at that running back room as is possible. They're kind of treating it like the linebacker room in that aspect. When, you bring back Damian Wilson, you get Eric Kendricks. So you get, 3 undrafted guys to add to the 3rd-round pick, Leofau. So they're throwing a bunch of talent at the running backs room. And it's going to be real interesting because as it stands, the current construct of the running back room, Zeke is going to take the lead role in tandem with Rico Dowdle, and we'll see who RB3 is. Had money on the table, I'm going to say it's Hunter Lipke. I think I love what I saw on the back end of the season with Hunter Lipke. His trajectory is pointing in the right direction. And then you're going to have guys that I put in Tier B that they're going to have to scratch and claw to make a roster spot, or even, be considered for the practice squad. Love what Malik Davis brings to the table, but at the same time, you saw McCarthy defer more to Deuce Vaughn than Malik Davis last year when injury cropped up. And so that where's Malik Davis in this situation as far as how does McCarthy view him? Deuce Vaughn, just mentioned him, did not take advantage of his opportunities whatsoever. Very disappointing rookie season, but the skill set, the talent is still there to be kind of that change of pace back. Will you see that this training camp? And will he challenge Malik Davis? Will Snoop Conner be a dark horse? What does Royce Freeman bring in that equation as far as obviously he's a unit of a human being and he's a short yardage guy as well. Somebody's going to be the odd man out. Might be odd men out, plural, 1 or 2 guys.
Sure.
And it could be a situation where the Cowboys go into training camp, give it a couple weeks in training camp, move on from 1 guy, maybe 2 guys, and then bring in another free agent. They also let you know that the trade deadline, which has been moved back a little bit, trade deadline isn't until November. So they've got time in that capacity as well. So I just feel like as we have this conversation, the definitive ones that are definitely going to be on the roster, if I had to bet, would be Zeke, Pollard, Hunter Lipke, and then everything else just has to shake itself out. Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, Stu Conner, Royce Freeman, they're going to have their hands full battling each other.
Put a pin in that free agent part because I got a name for you I want to discuss.
Real quick, Chris Romero, RB3 doesn't start because he's saying Hunter Lipke started. RB3 doesn't start. RB3 is primarily a special teams guy who comes in on offense for certain packages. So him being a fullback, you'll see him in fullback packages as a lead blocker at times, but RB3s don't start.
No. I mean, maybe start on special teams, but that's it.
Yeah, exactly. In that capacity, yeah. So just to be clear.
Yeah. I got you, brother. Let's get to the mailbag real quick. Mail time. A couple questions. I want to start off with the free agent part because you kind of teased and didn't even realize it. There's a name I want to bring up when it comes to this running back room. But I do want to get to Greedy Grove Guapo. Appreciate the question. He said, which free agent will Dallas sign before the season starts? Now, it doesn't have to be a specific player if you don't want to, Pat. It can be a position. But which free agent there for you?
I think they're going to look at defensive tackle. That's just the vibes that I'm getting inside the building. Now, does that mean that it wouldn't be cornerback? They're not out on Stephon Gilmore. Let's be clear. And Gilmore is not out on the Dallas Cowboys. Is there anything imminent right now? No. As we have this conversation, there is nothing imminent, but I want to be clear that both sides actually do want to reunite for 2024. It's just a matter of seeing if they can come to terms, and we will see if they do. But because there's already a pre-existing relationship there, I mean, that could fall out of the sky at any moment. So, there's that caveat. Yep. But outside of Gilmore, I think it's defensive tackle. Mike Zimmer, he has his linebacker and linebackers, and now he's looking toward the defensive front. You see them go out and get a guy like Justin Rogers with the final pick. He's an absolute mass of a man, no Diddy. but they're not done at defensive tackle. Calais Campbell is the name I put out there.
Dang.
Keep an eye on Calais Campbell. There's going to be interest there because anybody that knows Zimmer knows two things. He requires linebackers to play at a high level, and he requires his defensive tackles to play at a high level. And the jury is out on what Maji Smith will be in year 2. The keys are being thrown to that young man with Jonathan Hankins no longer in the building. But you need more at defensive tackle. Chauncey Golston has potential, hasn't had a breakout season yet, going into a contract year, so this has to be a breakout season for him. But does that mean he sticks around at 25? If he has a breakout season, Cowboys do love their comp picks. You know what I mean?
Get 4 of them.
Also, Diggy Zua, he's coming due, contract season. So you got to go out and get some more talent. Calais Campbell is one. He's evergreen as far as his talent. One person in particular on Twitter replied to what I said about Calais Campbell, and they put a 37 next to his name.
I don't care.
Film doesn't exist.
I don't care.
As if film does not exist, okay? All 37s ain't the same, okay? When I was 37, I wasn't playing in the NFL, and nor was anyone playing at the level of Calais Campbell. So watch the film, man. All 37s ain't the same, okay? But also, and here's a good one, Linval Joseph. Right.
Literally both names I have right here. Calais
yeah, I
Campbell,
can draw
Joseph.
a direct line from Mike Zimmer to Linval Joseph, obviously from their time together, a lot of time together with the Minnesota Vikings. I spoke with Eric Kendricks here recently at the Home Run Derby about the influence that Zimmer had on his decision to pivot away from the 49ers after agreeing to terms over there and coming over to Dallas. And I could see the same happening with a guy like Linval Joseph as far as, saying, hey, I'm at a certain age where I need to chase a ring and I need to also hopefully be somewhere that I'm comfortable. And what's a better fit than a Cowboys defense and offense? I mean, if they can piece it all together, we can't sit here and honestly say the Cowboys aren't contenders because they are, even though they've taken a step back roster-wise, they are. The question remains is what the hell they can do in January. I agree with you. Everybody, we're on the same page. I'm not saying the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl this year. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is still a 12-win team. Maybe minus one. Let's say 11. Let's say it's an 11-win team because they've had some attrition. They've had some changes in the coaching staff. But even as an 11-win team, depending on what happens with the Eagles as far as if Hurts continues to regress, depending on what happens with the Commanders, can Dan Quinn put them in a resurgent year in his first year? The Giants, who gives a damn? I almost cursed. I don't want to get you fined, though, bro.
Oh,
but
we've done it plenty on here.
But, yeah, when you look at Jalen Hurts' regression and you look at the Commanders being in flux themselves with a brand-new regime there, Cowboys can possibly take this division at 11 wins. There's going to be some change there. And then it's just coming to January. What can they do in January? Hell if I know, because the last January was completely unexpected, and they laid down and just, gave up the buns. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But if you're Linval Joseph, you can come into a situation where you know that you'll be put in a position where you could possibly make a playoff run, and you're doing it on a defensive unit that has like Micah Parsons, former teammate Eric Kendricks, DeMarcus Lawrence, Malik Hooker playing behind you, Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis, and then it's all orchestrated by guess who? Mike Zimmer, a guy that you're familiar with. You don't have to relearn a whole new playbook. You know his playbook. So keep Linval Joseph in mind as well.
I would sign both of them dudes. But, yeah, for me, it would be Calais Campbell and Linval Joseph were the two names I had up here. The Cowboys defensive tackle room is extremely scarce and scarce in guys that, aside from Rodgers, that Mike Zimmer is really accustomed to. And I'll get into that a little bit more in depth in the mailbag. But you brought up linebacker very briefly. Prior to Damian Wilson, a name that I thought would be interesting to keep an eye on was Anthony Barr. Again, you talk about direct link of Linval Joseph, and obviously Barr played here, but under Dan Quinn. Barr was a Pro Bowl player under Mike Zimmer too, and that linebacker room is pretty young, right? Aside from Eric Kendricks, it is an extremely inexperienced young linebacker room, and it wouldn't shock me if they look to add even another veteran at some point if Damian Wilson doesn't work out. But I want to get to the running back room.
I could see that. I could see that if Damian Wilson doesn't pan out in his reunion with the Cowboys, because in looking at the linebacker room, I think that they're looking at Eric Kendricks outside of Micah Parsons because he's edge though. But they're looking at Eric Kendricks as far as off ball is concerned to be that leader, to be that guy. And then Damone Clark, they're expecting him to finally take that step. But they're not going to want to take too many reps away from a guy like DeMarvion Overshown, who's coming back, and he's going to need as many reps as possible because not only is he returning from a torn ACL, so the more reps the better as far as getting him back to physical condition and playing condition, but since he was a red shirt, he's essentially a rookie, and he has that mental learning curve as well. So the more reps, the better. And we talked about Maris Liufau, right? So you want your redshirt rookie and your actual rookie to get as much playing time as possible in rotation with Kendricks and Damone Clark. So that also makes me wonder, how much time will Damian Wilson even see on the field?
Yeah.
And if that time is going to be minimal anyway, then maybe they steer away from adding anyone, be it Anthony Barr or anyone else, and they really just want to see how it plays out with the young group.
I tell you what, if that's the case, and I'd imagine that's what they want. They absolutely want Clark and Overshown and Liufau to be the guys, right? But if they do decide to carry 5, I'd rather swap out Barr for Damian Wilson on the sheer fact that Barr can help these young guys like a Kendricks can. Kendricks is the only voice I think in that room. I know Damian Wilson won a Super Bowl, but he doesn't know this scheme either, where Kendrick knows it like the back of his hand, and so does Barr. So if they're going to roll with the young guys, but they want to have that veteran on the back end, on the front and back end, why not sandwich it with, Barr and Kendricks?
I think that would be because Damian Wilson would be more
better? Maybe a better player right now?
No, not possibly, but where I'm going with it is free agency is a two-way street, yeah? And Anthony Barr, although he was
might
out of
play.
the league for the most part last year, he might want to play. Whereas Damian Wilson might be in a mental space where he's like, look, I want to help where I can. So that goes to it as well, because keep in mind the first time that they signed with Barr, the reason he didn't go elsewhere was because he knew that he could be a starter here based on their linebacker situation at that time. Well, that's not the situation anymore, and it was up until Eric Kendricks came. So now that that's happening, you already have effectively you have your top 3 linebackers in Kendricks, Damone Clark, and DeMarvion Overshown, and then the rest just fleshes himself out. So I think you have to take that into account as well. Now, I'm not saying, because I haven't spoken with Barr recently, so I'm not saying that that's where his mindset is. I'm saying that's where his mindset was a couple of seasons ago, and if it's still there, then you combine that with, is Damian Wilson physically better than Barr? Because Barr had his struggles 2 seasons ago as well, right? So unlike Calais Campbell, Barr hasn't been evergreen on the football field. So a lot to consider there. A good name, but a lot to consider.
Let me take you on the other side of the ball to answer Greedy's question here. And I wanted to stick at running back because I know the room is pretty, when I say deep, I mean just bodies. Body-wise, it's a lot of running backs in that room. But what I think it's missing is a complementary player to a lot of these kind of downhill power guys. And the running back that I'm going to bring up here is Jerick McKinnon. If Jerick McKinnon, I think, is a sneaky option in the sense of he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, right? So he has that Super Bowl pedigree, but he is quite literally a perfect complement to what you have. And that's a third down guy that can go in there, by the way, have the trust to block because he wouldn't have been able to do that in Kansas City if he didn't, but also catch the ball out the backfield. If McCarthy focused a little bit more on getting a guy like McKinnon the ball or TP when he was here, I think McKinnon will be a slam dunk. 80 receptions over the last 2 seasons, 13 reception touchdowns as a running back in the last 2 seasons. Yes, I know it's Pat Mahomes, but it ain't like Pat is asking him to run double moves and throwing it 60 yards down the field. He's dumping it off and throwing screens. So I think he would make perfect sense to complement this room. I know that may mean bye-bye to a certain fan favorite drafted player, but I'm trying to win here, and I think he brings in hella pedigree. He complements the room, and he gives you a weapon out the backfield.
Listen, that last thing you said is really what hit for me. There's love versus victory. Which do you value more? Yeah. And, fan favorite is fun and all of that. But how fun do you want your January to be? How fun do you want your February to be is the ultimate question. And when you talk about a guy like we're referring to Deuce Vaughn, obviously, when you're talking about Deuce, again, I'm high on his potential, but I don't know that the Cowboys know how to utilize him at the NFL level. Right. We'll see if they can in year 2, but in year 1, very, very disappointing there. McKinnon, goes without saying, can still get the job done in a big way, especially as change of pace guy. I think, though, the Cowboys are going to look for Rico Dowdle to be that.
Fair.
I think they're looking at Rico Dowdle to be that.
And Rico showed he can catch the rock at the backfield too, Pat.
He absolutely can. He absolutely can. They're looking at it as the problem with last season still was that there was redundancy between Rico Dowdle and Tony Pollard. You were missing when you decided to part ways with Ezekiel Elliott following the 2022 season. You parted ways with your sledgehammer, and you were hoping that Tony Pollard could step in and be like the sledgehammer, but he's never been that in his football career. And he unfortunately could not become that. And, no knock to Tony, because you also have to keep in mind, what did we lead the show talking about? The offensive line. You had so many offensive line struggles and injuries and different sets of personnel. If you're a running back, you can't get chemistry with your offensive line because you don't know on a week-to-week basis who's going to be blocking for you. And each person that's blocking for you has their own tendencies that you get used to and accustomed to as a running back, which is why it's that much more paramount to try to keep the same front five and the best front five for as many games of the season as possible, because when you start shuffling pieces in and out, there's a little bit of discomfort as the running back saying, okay, well, I know for a fact that, Tyron Smith would block this way if I run this way. And this is all being processed in real time once the ball is in your hand. I know Tyron Smith will block this way, so I'm going to take this angle. But if it's, Chuma Edoga and you have the rock in your hand and you see the linebacker bearing down on him, you have no idea which way he's going to block. What's his footwork going to do? What's his hand going to do? Is he going to turn his cord inside or outside? And that moment where you second guess is going to cost you maybe a tackle for a loss. So those two things were not working well together. So that didn't work for Tony Pollard either. But even if the offensive line was what it should have been and once healthy, Pollard still was not Zeke. And that's just objectively speaking. Pollard and Dowdle are so eerily similar that the Cowboys looked at it this offseason and said, okay, well, we're willing to let one walk if we can keep the other. So they let the more expensive one walk, Tony going home to Tennessee, and retain Rico Dowdle. So I'm thinking they're looking at Rico Dowdle to say, okay, you be Tony Pollard now.
I think Pollard and Rico weren't Pollard and Zeke when healthy. And that was a problem. And they didn't even attempt to use him that way. And maybe it's because of Rico's injuries. I don't know. But I'm hoping they truly look at the running back by committee this year, Pat. I really hope that's the case because they didn't last year.
It is the case. Yeah, it is the case. And Will McClay said it definitively in the post-draft press conference. That was a phrase that he used. He said, This is no longer a league where you just have like one lead back. He said it's going to be a running back by committee approach. And that's what the Cowboys are looking at. So, the Cowboys are not looking for Ezekiel Elliott to be what he was in 16, 17, 18. They're looking for him to come in, first and foremost, be the short yardage back, goal line back, best pass protector in the room, who is also that sledgehammer to what Rico could be as maybe like the sword and mimicking what Tony Pollard was. Mix in Hunter Lipke, not as a starter, but mix in Hunter Lipke and whomever else they choose to carry on the active roster. And I also want everyone to keep in mind, practice squad exists as well. And when it comes down to a numbers game late August and the Cowboys are trying to figure some things out, I've said this, I could see them, if they can't figure things out with Deuce and based off of his film, there may not be a lot of teams clamoring for Deuce on waivers. So if the Cowboys wanted to risk him to waivers to get him back on the practice squad, that's possible. They did it with Malik Davis as a rookie, and I was one of the ones out of the gate after training camp. I said, you cannot risk Malik Davis to waivers. No way he clears. No way he clears. Well, he cleared, and he's been here ever since. So those types of things, I say you just have to let play out organically, but it begins right now, though, with off-season conditioning, mini camp, training camp. Let's see which one of these guys behind behind Dowdle and Zeke really, really want to stick to this roster. But it will be a committee approach, though.
Got Patrick Nosey Walker, DallasCowboys.com, rocking with us on the scientific method. Let's get to question number 2. Our final question for Pat here from Zotan. He says, out of Sam Williams, Chauncey Golston, and Marshawn Nealon, who's the biggest contributor for this upcoming season?
Good question. Real quick before I answer that, Trip to Ghost. I don't want to get rid of Deuce. I want them to figure out how to use Deuce. But if you go by what they were unable to do last year, it's not a lot of confidence here. So hopefully they can figure it out in training camp. But I want Deuce to stick around. And I have plenty of receipts showing what he can do if you give him a chance, but you got to put him in the right spots. As far as the question is concerned, it's got to be Sam Williams, right?
That's kind of where I'm at with it, yeah.
it's got to be Sam Williams. You lose Dorrance Armstrong and you lose Dante Fowler, both to the Washington Commanders. And as underrated as Dorrance was, he was an impact player for the Cowboys off of the edge, especially in run defense. Dante Fowler, impactful as a pass rusher rotationally. It has to be Sam Williams, because what's one of the things that people were saying, well, you know, Dante, as well as he's playing, he's taking snaps away from Sam Williams. Dorrance, as well as he's playing, people wanted to see more of Sam Williams. Well, careful what you wish for, because the wish is about to come true. Now, I say that to say I pegged Sam Williams last year as one of my most likely breakout guys.
Same.
So I have a lot of confidence in what Sam Williams can do when he's on the field, 100%. Also true that he needs to rein in the untimely game-changing penalties as well. Now, all of those penalties are not righteous. Let's not pretend they are. Some of those are just like WTF. Like, what are you doing, ref? But there were some where it's just like, you've got to be smarter than that. So he's going to have to rein those in, better decision-making in that capacity. But his motor, his bend, it's nasty. He has a bend and a motor like Randy Gregory. Not quite the bend of David Irving, but that was freakish bend. You don't see that often, right? But there's a lot of talent in Sam Williams, and I think that, well, I should say, I believe that he takes great advantage of these new opportunities, because he's going to have to. He said it day before yesterday at the Home Run Derby, when he was posed the question of, is he looking to step up in a big time role? And obviously, unequivocally, he was like, yeah. And he started speaking to the fact that, you know, he feels this year will define the rest of his career. So if you guys were wondering if Sam Williams is taking this seriously, he is absolutely taking it seriously, because he's going into this year feeling like he has to break out, not just for the Cowboys, but to define what happens over the rest of his entire NFL career. Marshawn Nealon, he's a rookie. I expect him to come in and be dominant in run defense, because that's his bread and butter. He needs to get better at pass rushing, though. So he has a learning curve there. But run defense, sure, absolutely. But overall, like I said, when you look at the defensive ends, or I should say the edge rushing responsibilities behind Micah Parsons, behind DeMarcus Lawrence, all signs point to Sam Williams needing to be that dude.
Absolutely. And I think he feels that pressure because his coach told him. You know, his coach came out at what was it? Not the combine. Might have been the combine. And mentioned Sam by name. He said, hey, Sam Williams, he's a guy that has to step up. We don't have Dante Fowler here. We don't have Dorrance Armstrong. So he's going to be the first one up. He's going to get the opportunities. And I find it hard to believe that with those opportunities, his production doesn't meet what it's been doing or exceed what it's been doing the last 2 years, where he hasn't had those same amount of opportunities. So if Sam Williams isn't the answer here, and it is a rookie or a rotational guy like Golston, who's more of a run guy, that probably doesn't bode well for the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys need Sam Williams to take that next step as a pass rusher, because if he doesn't, and it's Marshawn Nealon outproducing him, it's a Chauncey Golston outproducing him, the odds of you having a better pass rush or trying to maintain that pass rush level, I think, are slim to none, because they don't have those sheer pass rushers behind D-Law and Micah. So you need Sam.
You absolutely do. And I think that there should be a bit of a message sent to Sam, in that the Cowboys were absolutely in on possibly taking Darius Robinson in the first round out of Missouri. They were absolutely in. I was sitting there in that building, and the conversation was very real prior to them trading back to 29. And then when they traded back at 29, if he was still there at 29, there's a chance that he's the pick and Tyler Guyton's not the pick. And that's not a knock to Guyton. That's telling you that they believe, the Cowboys do, that they have a more serious need behind Micah and DeMarcus than maybe we even thought they did. But Darius Robinson, obviously, he goes to the Cardinals 2 picks sooner at the 27th overall pick. But I say all that to say that kind of insight should give you an idea of just how much they need Sam Williams to pop in year 3. Because if he doesn't, when Micah is number one, if he doesn't, then it makes it more difficult to move Micah around. And we've seen that Micah can be truly dominant when he's unpredictable and you don't know where he's going to line up. Is he at the 0? Is he at the 3? Is he at the 5 wide? Whatever the case may be. But if Sam doesn't step up, then it's more Micah on the edge. And it's more taxing on Micah because as an edge rusher, he's getting beat up a little bit more. So it resonates, and it sends ripple effects out either in a positive way if Sam breaks out, or in a negative way if he doesn't break out.
That's fair, man. That's fair. Hey, Pat, I kept you here for a long time. I appreciate you giving us your time this morning, good brother.
No, it's fun as always, man. I'm going to get back to listening to this K-Dot cook because
I saw you on Twitter.
Yeah, man, he's on it right now. So shout out to Kung Fu Kenny. He's doing it for the culture, for real. But, yeah, man, fun as always, bro. But we'll tell them about that later.
I can't wait, big dog. I cannot wait.
All right.
Patrick No-C Walker, man, of DallasCowboys.com, joining us for our weekly segment of the Scientific Method. Good stuff. Good stuff from Pat right there. As always, I would never, ever, ever take these things for granted because it's not often you have a guy that's literally boots on the ground in the building that can come on the show and discuss all things Cowboys happening down there and obviously give us his just overall general opinion too. So make sure I drop some flames in the chat for our guy, Pat. With that said, quick little coffee break, get some water, whatever you want to do. We'll come back. We'll answer these questions. I'll open the lines up. I wasn't, but I'll open them up. 351-999-3787. We'll get a couple calls, and we'll head on out for this Friday. Good show so far. Keep it locked.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. We'll do it live.
Oh, Jay, you missed a good one, man. Run this back. I always say hashtag running back gang. You missed a good one. See, if y'all notice, got a chance to get Pat on Friday, so we ain't got to compete with the radio. So we can keep him for much longer. And when Pat get going, man, he can get going. There's some nuggets, man, some science, I should say. So run this thing back, Jay. I want to bring up something I saw in the chat. I'm deciding if I want to do it now. I think it was Tyrone who I saw. Let me bring it up later. We'll do it later. We'll do it after we finish this mailbag here, okay? Because I want to give y'all my thoughts on why I believe this player will be better for the Cowboys. Shouts out to Greedy Grove, Guapo, and Zotan. Zotan, you're always dropping some good questions, man. I appreciate it. Now let's get back to it. And let's talk about Antoine. Is it Antoine? Antoine Gaming 5989. He says, do you think BB will move to center, or will he learn under Martin and become the Cowboys' next multi-Pro Bowl guard? So I think two of those things can be true without the middle part there. I think he will learn under Martin, even at center, right? Martin and Travis Frederick had an amazing relationship next to each other. Who you have next to you, whether it's guard to center or tackle to guard or guard to tackle, is huge. Look at Zach Martin and Terrence Steele when they were both healthy, obviously, playing at an extremely high level. Let me turn this off here. Playing at an extremely high level. So I think it'll be center, Antoine. And I think he'll be a multi-Pro Bowl center because I think he has that type of talent. Funny thing is, I don't know why I missed this. Just wasn't thinking about a guard converting to center in a draft when discussing, or I would have brought up BB. I was just all in on just the centers. And it's funny because we were talking about a tackle converting to center, right? In Barton. And then obviously Jackson Powers Johnson and Zach Frazier and Van Pran. But if you'd have said, hey, throw BB's name in there, I'd have been all aboard this thing. Well, Sky, he didn't play any center in college. True. But take a listen to Cooper Beebe's teammate discuss that he was prepping to one day play center in the National Football League.
See, he's going to probably play center there.
Yeah.
But he's not played center.
Yeah, so.
But you think he's going to have that unlocked?
Yeah, so him, like in what we do is we really pride ourselves on being real versatile. And for him, like obviously he's played left tackle, left guard, right tackle. He hasn't had any live game center reps, but he's had a lot of practice reps at center. He knew that really coming back this last year that teams were kind of looking at him at he could play guard, but they're mainly like, want to know if he can snap and stuff. So he knew that he was going to have to like prepare to be a center. So, I mean, all last year, like, he's taking extra reps at center. Like if we finish up our script and then, we're getting some extra reps before practice ends, he may go in and he'll tell Gil, hey, Gil, like, you want to play some guard and I can play center. So, like, we were all switching different positions. Like,
so he's been prepping, and that's good to know. Although, honestly, y'all, I personally feel fine. I feel like even if he wasn't quote unquote prepping, the dude is an extremely intelligent guy. He's played both left tackle, right tackle, left guard, right guard. He's played up and down that line in games. In fact, I think there's a game where he quite literally, I think he played 3 different positions. He's that versatile. Now, I'm not saying he can play tackle in the league. He's not built to do that at all. But that just goes to show you the mental bandwidth you have to do those things, both sides, all across the line. I think I would have felt confident in him being able to make that transition. But the fact that he was kind of prepping already, my confidence goes through the roof. Professor O, love a good dad joke. Professor O said, if they continue to run shotgun with Cooper BB at center, is it going to be called the BB gun? That's so good. It's so good I hate you, Professor O, that I didn't think of it. It's so good. I'm going to try. No, did he? I'm going to try to get that down there. Please, let's spam the Cowboys to rename the shotgun the BB gun. God, that's good. Who wrote the Dirt Devil article, by the way? Was that Pat? That just feels like it's Pat. There's an article on .com. Let me see. Where's it at? And the title, it was called Dirt Devil, right? Because he talked about putting people in the dirt. That just feels like that's a Patrick No C Walker title right there. I can't find it. All right, let's get back to the mailbag. T-Jack 321. Again, y'all asked some questions today, man. And this one was an interesting one because usually this is the time of hope and optimism, like you said. He said, I know this is the time of hope and optimism, but give me a player or position group that you feel will regress. Oh, come on, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Come on, man.
Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass on.
Damn, T-Jack. That's a good question. I hate it, but it's a good question because we don't really think about, every year, somebody gets better, but somebody also gets worse. So I'm not going to give you a specific player. I have a group in mind, and this one's tough because we absolutely need this group to be better. Defensive tackle. Damn, I hate to say that. And look, I don't even like putting this in the air because the Cowboys absolutely need the defensive tackle room to be better. But you see the question up there, right? Which free agent do you want the Cowboys on? I want Calais Campbell and Linval Joseph. Ladies and gentlemen, we ain't got no defensive tackles in the room, man. I mean, we literally have Osa and Mozzie and Carl Davis. But allow me to explain myself here. I don't think we've replaced Jonathan Hankins. So just by sheer talent alone, you've regressed. Hankins' savvy, veteran experience and his ability to just know how. I think he would have been a perfect fit in this Mike Zimmer defense. I'm sorry. And he's not here. His ability to wall down the line, disengage, cause accident. I mean, that stuff was real, man. You didn't replace that. Mozzie Smith, rooting like hell for this guy. But he's rehabbing. He won't be back until camp, right? He won't be available till camp. And look, barring that he comes back healthy, puts on the weight, I do actually expect him to benefit from Mike Zimmer, right, from the scheme. But is that enough to say that the group in general is going to get better or even remain the same? No. And then there's Osa. I've been bringing this up because I really want to wait and see camp and obviously preseason and then the regular season because I'm a huge Osa fan, especially in the Dan Quinn scheme. Problem is, 280 Osa is not even remotely close to a scheme fit for Mike Zimmer. Now, all that does not matter because there's not enough bodies he's going to play. But what if he plateaus because he's not really a scheme fit here? What if he doesn't take the next step? So while T-Jack, I absolutely respect and hate your question here because I gotta talk down on this group that we absolutely need the ball out. I think the position group that I feel like will regress unless they add some players. But speaking right now, May 3rd, I feel like it's defensive tackle, man. I feel like it's defensive tackle because between Mozzie and Osa, between Osa and Hankins, and then before we knew Mozzie would lose 40 pounds to go on the Atkins diet, and then you had Chauncey Golson. I don't think Golson's playing defensive tackle. I think he'll be edge. Last year, you had a defensive tackle room you can go 4 deep and rotate, right, going into the season. This year, I'd argue you just got Mozzie and Osa at this point. Now, the Rodgers kid, like, look, I'm not putting expectations like that on a 7th round pick nose tackle. I'm not doing it, at least before I go out there and see him. So I hope like hell he can come in and be Hankins or whatnot. But let me see camp before I go out here and say, yeah, this 7th round nose tackle out of Auburn is going to be better than Jonathan Hankins. T-Jack, we beefing now, man. Dro knows. Last question of Friday mailbag. Shouts out to Dro. He said, who's the odd man out at safety? Actually, who's the odd man out at the starting safeties? Dono, Hooker, or Marquise? Now, Dro watches the show. Shouts out to him. He's here all the time. He knows some of the things I've been saying about this Mike Zimmer scheme. Mike doesn't run 3 safeties like Dan. So don't expect to see a bunch of 3 safety looks out there. So somebody is going to be the odd man out. I'm going with Marquise Bell. Marquise Bell had to, and salute to him, he had to play linebacker all last year, do a bunch of linebacker things, pick up linebacker mannerisms, muscle memory, study, film room, all that was linebacker. Now he's going to move back to safety. I understand that is a position that he's naturally played, but he doesn't have real NFL experience just yet. And I don't think that bodes well as starter material in a Mike Zimmer scheme. Zimmer is a DB coach at heart, y'all. Heavy on the safeties too. He likes to have those guys doing a multitude of things. They do play a lot on the roof, but he blitzes them. He moves them around. And I think I personally think Dono is going to get back to a guy who could possibly have 5 sacks, right? 4 or 5 sacks at safety because they're going to blitz him. I think Dono, I like him fit in this fit. I like his fit for the Zimmer scheme. I'm sorry. So between Dono's experience, Hooker, and their ability, I feel like those are your starters. So I feel like of those 3, Bell's the odd man out. But I don't think it's Bell that I would have put in that trio, Joe. I would have threw Wanye in there, and then I would have fought myself a little bit because I want them to let Wanye compete with Malik on the roof. Now, I know them boys is tight or whatnot, and maybe, Malik will get back to playmaking ways that he showed some playmaking ability in 2022. Not last year. I feel like they were just asking him to do the DeMonte KZ thing. Don't let nothing behind you. Y'all remember that in 2021? KZ couldn't make a play to save his life. He just sat on the roof 30, 40 yards back. Don't let nothing behind you. They asked that for, I think they asked Hooker to do that. And you kind of take away his ability, his range that he showed. He showed range against the Jets, right? now in this Zimmer scheme, there's going to be half fields played a lot more. And I think you'll be able to see Hooker's IQ show off a little bit more. But I still want Wanye to compete because I think Wanye is just a lot to his game. Now he's young, right? He's still got to learn. But I love our safety room. I think it's deep, but you won't see 3 guys out there a lot. But break that pool stick, throw it out there, and say, "May the best man win." So for me, it's Bell. He's the odd man out in that trio. And that's gonna be crazy. Like Bell's gonna potentially, barring injury, could go from a guy that started 13 games or whatever it was at linebacker, 500-600 snaps, starter in the playoffs to special teams guy, backup safety the very next year. Because Dan Quinn ain't want to go get no goddamn linebacker. Just saying. Izzy Swain, yeah, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do with Izzy. I feel like Izzy is a Dan Quinn guy. I don't know, man. If they're gonna try Izzy out anywhere, y'all know me. I'd rather throw him on a boundary. I think Wanye's leaped him at safety. If you want to put him back at safety, cool. But now I think he's 5th, right? Where on the boundary, maybe he can compete for the 4th spot. Even though we're gonna talk about Kalen Clarkson, boy. We're gonna talk about him probably in a week or so, in depthly, but. Hey, when we get to the portion of the offseason where we're talking about sneaky battles and sneaky cuts, is he going to be on that fringe for me? Is he going to be on that fringe? Is he replace J. Lou? Nah, man. I think J. Lou I think J. Lou's going to be your nickel, unless it's Kalen Carson. I actually think Zimmer's going to love J. Lou. Heady veteran guy. I know a lot of people hate J. Lou, but again, his tape is not going to be tape where it's, oh my God, 5 interceptions and no, but minus a play or two that people hold over him every game, and it's not even every game that happens to him. He's very consistent and steady at nickel. Not saying I would have put him in over Deron Bland, but for him to step up and play nickel, I thought he was fine. And I think that Zimmer is going to really like the fact that he has a heady veteran guy in there, a la Terrence Newman, right? I'm not saying this dude is Terrence Newman, but Terrence Newman was a veteran dude. He kept around, actually had him in Cincy, he had him in Minnesota, and obviously here in Dallas. I think he will like J. Lou. I don't mean that if a young buck shows up, he can't push J. Lou. J. Lou not getting paid like that, and he's not a Zimmer guy. So, yeah, I don't think Izzy will push J. Lou. I think if anybody, it'd be Carson that'll push J. Lou. And honestly, I can't wait to see where they're going to put this kid, because I feel like you could put him inside or outside. But we'll get into that more. We got to slow burn this thing, y'all. We got to slow burn this thing. I don't want to throw up all the content and then we sitting here end of May like, what do we do now? You know? Good questions. Appreciate you guys. Let me give a shout out to Greedy Grove, Guapo, Antoine, Dro Nose, T-Jack321, and Zotan. Shouts out to those who may have also contributed, but I didn't pick the questions. I can only do about 4 or 5 to make sure that we keep this thing at a reasonable time. So appreciate y'all. Let me see if we got any supers. No, C. Burleson. I don't. If I said that, let me apologize right now. I don't recall saying Scott's in more trouble than Nahshon. When we did the winners and losers of the draft, Scott's a loser because I don't think they pick Carson if Scott had the confidence of that group, because that's what Scott's supposed to be. But he's a 5th round pick in only 1 year. They're not getting rid of Scott. I didn't include Nahshon because where's my button at? Mother for what? Nahshon's done. Right? Like Nahshon's done, man. So that's I didn't include kind of like the obvious one. So my apology on that if I confused you. There's no way in hell I think that Nahshon Wright has more value right now with this group than the 5th round pick from last year. I get it. That was under Dan Quinn too. But they traded up for Scott. So just by assets alone, they're not about to get rid of Scott unless he's absolutely terrible. Nashon, totally different story. So let me clarify that. My bad. Let me see. That was a bad draft, except Micah. Man, listen. 11 picks. And as much as I like Osa, he might not even be a fit with this, and you just got Micah. Whew. That's rough.
Super chat.
Still them boys drop. Was this yesterday? This was yesterday. Did I get to supers yesterday? I did, but I don't think I read this one. Still them boys. Tyler, BB, and Martin equal bully ball. And I think they're on. I think that's the trajectory they're on. Oh man, this is perfect. By the way, Tyrone Church, if you're still in here, I saw this name getting thrown out here real quick. We could touch on that too, Andrew. So when we were talking about running backs, I brought up McKinnon, right? Y'all know, if you're here, you've been here, you know how I feel about complimenting the room. I think McKinnon does that amazingly. But I saw the name Akers get brought up, right? And I get it, right? Like Cam Akers was a higher pick in the draft. He's younger, but also a banged up guy as well. But I don't think he compliments the room like that. I would view Cam Akers in the same light as I view Rico Dowdle. Cam Akers doesn't really catch the rock at the backfield. He's not a weapon out the backfield in that sense. Obviously the pedigree, yes, I think Cam won a Super Bowl. Give him that. But there's something to a veteran doing it multiple times, playing with Andy Reid and the boys. But no, McKinnon is a guy with what? Like I said, 80 receptions in the last 2 years, 13 reception touchdowns. I don't even know if Cam Akers has 80 receptions in his career. Truly. So I would prefer a McKinnon over a Cam, especially for I'm just looking at 1 year. I'm looking to complement my room. If I was looking for another runner, sure, but I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a guy that can complement my room and catch the rock at the backfield and be a reliable third down guy. If I want to, we got runners. Zeke, Royce, Rico can run the rock. I'm not trying to throw them the ball. Rico, I think he did show a little something. I'm not gonna lie to you. But McKinnon, I think, he's just in a different atmosphere when it comes to catching the rock at the backfield. And he could bring some plays over from Andy. There was this one play when I was watching. Whose film was I watching? Eric Kendricks. I was watching a Chargers game, and the play got called back. I think a legal man downfield. Man, they ran this crazy play that got him singled up on Eric Kendricks, and Eric Kendricks bit, boom, right down the sideline, touchdown. But they called it back though. But that's why I believe McKinnon would make more sense than an Akers. But I will say this caveat, because I said it with Patrick. Do I have confidence they're going to throw the ball out the backfield? They haven't shown me that. So if I had the confidence of McCarthy to get the rock to these guys, it's no brainer. But the problem is, I don't know why, but we don't really use it. Now, maybe now that we're going running back by committee, there will be more of an emphasis on that. Fair enough? Yeah, McKinnon, man, he's a bad boy for that role. He also hurt guy too. He get dinged up a little older, but I don't need you to go. Look, I just need you to catch 2-3 balls out the backfield. That's it. I need you to do nothing crazy. Hey, I want y'all to hold me accountable real quick before I get out of here with Royce. Cause I don't know, man. I keep watching him. I keep going, and I'm like, I get it. He doesn't have a lot of production or whatever. But I look at the style he plays, and I'm like, we sure he can thrive with this team, man? You know what I mean? I give y'all permission to come slander the hell out of me if they cut Royce Freeman in August. But we sure he not better than Rico Dowdle? I'm just saying, man. Are we sure? I don't even trust Rico. I like his style. I think he got something to him. I don't trust him. He get hurt too damn much. And I think they were guarding against that last year. Doesn't it feel like they was guarding against, hey, we got to be careful, man. Rico might, get dinged up. And he got dinged up. And they didn't give him the ball. Man, Royce go 6 foot 235. He got some to him, man. Now, see, the reason why I'm telling y'all to hold me accountable, because I was ready to see Ronald Jones get an opportunity. And before I got a chance to see if it worked out, Fuster King. This is real breaking news here. Fuster King. Not Rico Dowdle. Ronald Jones, breaking news. Suspended. Steroids. HGH. Whatever. Never got a chance. Then boom, he gets hurt. Never got a chance. I want Royce. Can we see if Royce can do something? Don't get hurt. Don't get suspended, Royce. Let me see something real quick. That's what I'm saying. But if he don't, y'all come back here and say, hey, Sky, you don't know nothing. I give you permission. Right, Tyrone. Right. Like, Ronald never even gave us a chance to see what was happening. But am I tripping over Royce Freeman? I need y'all to check me. I ain't trying to hype y'all up, right? I ain't gonna rush for 1,000 yards. I'm just saying. Got a little something to him, that's all. Let me refresh this thing right here. Bam, perfect. Perfect. Good stuff this week. I was really excited to get back and talk about this draft class with y'all. We discussed, if you missed it, you can go back and look at the content. We discussed Tyler Guyton and Marshawn Nealon in depth next week. Cooper Beebe, baby. We're going to discuss Cooper Beebe, 3rd round pick 73, and then Maris Leafau, linebacker. Those are the 2 guys we'll hit on next week. We'll try to get some more probably content creators or other guests on next week as well. And then we'll just continue our off-season programming. Our off-season schedule is a little bit different than our in-season schedule. We had roughly 700 of y'all in here today, man. So shouts out to y'all, first of all. Let me clue bomb for y'all. Y'all continue to show up. Y'all continue to show up like this is pushing me to make sure I put out a product worthy of continuing to show up, right? I ain't trying to plateau, so I thank you, by the way. Thank you for that. Friday, that means SmackDown. I'm going to keep teasing this because we got some things in the work. Y'all been asking me, and I've been saying I ain't got time and this and all that. I got time today, cuh. I got time today. So I really got time. And this isn't, the wrestling thing isn't I'm just going to get on here. We just going to talk. Partnering up with some fantastic people, some driven people. And this thing is going beyond just a wrestling podcast. So we're kind of just getting all this together. And I can't wait to unveil it to you guys. So, keep your eyes and ears plugged for that. All right. I can't wait, Jay. I can't wait. With that said, I think that's everything, man. As much as I would love to sit here and just talk to y'all all day about whatever, we got to keep it moving, man. There's more content for Cowboys fans out here, and I don't want to be hogging up the entire day. So I'm going to press this button.
Push the goddamn button.
Push the goddamn button.
How random is that? Josh Ball versus Trish Stratus. Get the hell out. Hey, I saw the video of Vach and Marv. I gotta get back on there, man. Appreciate y'all. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Have fun. Hug your loved ones. Love y'all. Be out of here. Josh Ball.
No.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Le who? The her.
Bob's Squad!